Hey there friends and enemies, JoPaWrites here again, and today I've got another Remnant 2 build video for you guys, this time combining the Ritualist and Invader archetypes in a way a lot of people might not expect. This build is focused on bleeding damage and then teleport melee damage as well, and let me explain how it all works. First off, you're going to have the Ritualist in the first slot in order to get the Vile Prime perk to get increased status effect damage as well as spreading status effects to nearby enemies on kills. This is really helpful not only for the bleeding damage because you're going to want to be proccing that on as many enemies as possible, as well as you're going to run miasma and spread a bunch of different status effects as well. The rest of them besides bleeding don't matter as much, but it's also nice to have additional tick damage. Then for the Invader, we are going to run Wormhole. This is going to allow you to teleport around, do a melee attack, and then teleport to another enemy and do an additional one as well. That 300% damage increase is pretty nice. And then you can also make sure you hold the skill in order to show the targeting device, essentially so you can get behind enemies as often as possible, because you're going to do increased damage if you are behind them. It is tricky as you're getting this build down, but overall it does end up being a ton of fun. And this is a lot more fast-paced than a lot of other bleeding builds that I've seen. So as far as the items that I'm rocking, I do have on the Radiant set, although you can put on your favorite one if you want. You're going to be in melee combat quite a bit, so I wouldn't recommend a lighter set unless you're really good at dodging, but overall that's what I am running. I also have on my Ruined Heart. This is going to be allowing me to generate mod power because I don't need the healing for my relic on this build as much as I would in other builds that I have, so that's why I'm rocking the Ruined Heart for this one. And then I have the Merciless. This is the best weapon for bleeding overall. It's going to just consistently do bleeding damage, which is nice. I'm actually having the Maelstrom Mutator on here to increase the weapon's elemental damage for each unique elemental status. I'll pop my miasma first and then start shooting them with this gun, and then it also increases mod power generation of elemental damage and status damage by 20%, which is nice. Now this is where things get surprising for a lot of people. I'm running the Ritualist Scythe, and this increased melee damage by 10% if the target is suffering from a negative status effect. Combine this with the 300% damage after a teleport, and then also Vampire Blade to do increased melee damage while within 10 meters of a bleeding entity, and then also melee hits will lifesteal as well. It just really combines well to do increased melee damage, but also lifesteal and everything. It just combines so well that I really like it. As far as the other weapon, you can kind of run whatever you want. I'm running Twisting Wounds on this one. I felt like I didn't need Twisting Wounds on the Merciless, but having it on the handgun means that you can do additional damage when you need to rely on that. Say you run out of ammo in your primary or something like that. I'm also running Root Lash. This is nice because, again, it's going to allow you to do a bit more lifesteal and just essentially set it and forget it. This slot, you definitely want something where you're going to just drop a mod and then not have to worry about it until the next time you drop it. It's not like something you want to be continuously using, because then you're not going to be doing your melee damage as much, and it takes away the prime part of the build that I think makes it successful. Now here you can run this. You can also run the neck coil if you want, the energized neck coil, but I know everyone's running that in pretty much all their builds, so I wanted to change it up. So I'm rocking the Ravager's Mark. Blood Tinged Ring. This is where I'm going to have health regeneration by 2 health per second when within 25 meters of bleeding entity. The key to this is that I'm also going to run Atonement Fold. Self-inflicts bleeding status upon the wearer, causing 1.1 bleed damage per second, increases critical chance by 10%. So massive critical chance increase there, and since you're always bleeding, you're also going to be regenerating your health because this counts as a combination. You can use Atonement Fold while you are bleeding yourself, and you're essentially always going to have that healing uptime. And then you can also add in the Alchemy Stone, increases the lifesteal by 6% while suffering from a negative status effect. So essentially you're going to be lifestealing all the time with this combination, and taking damage not much of a problem. It's tanking damage that is the problem. So if you're not careful, you can really get one shot often on Apocalypse difficulty with this build if you are not running the right combination, and that's why I'm running the Fey Bruiser Ring in my final slot. If you are not having problems with survivability, you can swap this out to do more melee damage. But for me, the key to this is going to be a easy to play scenario for how you start combat. Essentially, shoot enemies with your Merciless. You're going to get them bleeding. You can cast your Miasma at that point as well, either first or after you shoot them a little bit. Either way, then you're going to teleport behind an enemy, hit them with that first shot, get the bulwark going, and then you can proceed however you want, straight up melee, using your abilities. You're also going to toss down some root lashes as well, and it just really combines in a way that I think is super effective. You're always healing as long as you're doing damage, so you really don't have to worry about healing yourself. You can pop your relics whenever you want in order to get that additional mod power, and the combination is crazy. I absolutely love the Ritualist Scythe as well. The different attacks are very fun for me, and I just like the animations that it has, and it's just really fast and hard hitting as well. So essentially you're just constantly hitting the enemies all the time with the Ritualist Scythe and doing damage and essentially keeping that bleeding up. Also, you're going to be doing a ton of damage when you do the teleport as well. So that's why that works out really, really well. Again, it takes a little bit of time against some of the faster moving enemies to get your teleport down in a way that you're not whiffing on your first melee attack. That's something I learned, and you'll see in the some of the gameplay as well, so keep that in mind. But once you get it down, it just works out really, really well. And overall, I like this build because it provides a different style of play for bleeding builds, because in the past, most of the bleeding builds are really focused on just hitting enemies from afar, doing tick damage, and then letting them tick down and then trying to stay alive as often as possible. They're not really as aggressive as this build, and that's why I've really enjoyed playing this, because it allows me to really push the pace and play the game a lot faster, especially if I'm running through the DLC looking for items. Whatever I want to do, whether it's Apocalypse difficulty or anything else, I can essentially just keep holding down forward and push into enemies with my teleport and go to town with my scythe. So overall, I definitely recommend trying this out. You can swap around some things, adjust this to make it fit your own personal playstyle, but this is one that I was pleasantly surprised at how well it works overall, and I'd love for more people to try it out. So anyway, my name is Jopa. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, helps me out tremendously, shows you want to see more Remnant 2 content from me going forward. I have new combinations with the Ritualist as far as builds coming in the near future, whether it is Engineer is up next. I'm also going to run a Summoner build, as well as maybe one or two others that I'm really working on, possibly a Challenger one that could be a lot of fun as well. So overall, I've been really enjoying Ritualist and making these different builds. I'm looking forward to testing a bunch more of them out. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. My name is Jopa. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.